What are some of the qualities that you think of when it comes to understanding what makes for a great video game? Is it story, characters, gameplay, music, multiplayer, originality, graphics, the studio making the game, or something else that I didn't just name? There are many others, but you get the point. More importantly though, what will the game make you feel in terms of emotions and thought? Will it make you more engaged to keep playing and be entertaining, or can it even tell a beautiful story and showcase the world in an epic light to where you are enamored for how much great and passionate work was put into making the game itself? These are all things that we must consider when examining a video game and its potential. That is why here today I am making this video to consider the possibility that I believe that Starfield will be one of the best video games ever created for many of those different attributes that I listed. The game is slowly approaching its release of the early September release date, so it feels appropriate to make this video as we inch closer and closer to that date. People are going to start hyping up the game, and for good reason, because at least from my perspective, from what I've seen of the game, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun and could legitimately be something massive for the gaming world. I'd be curious to know all your thoughts down below in the comments on where your hype levels are for Starfield and whether or not you think it's going to be a great game. Again, as long as the game comes out in a good and finished state, that is what this is all dependent on. Also, in anticipation for my excitement for this game, I went and made a fan-made trailer combining Interstellar with Starfield up above, so go check that out if you are interested. So let's jump right into the first reason for why I believe that Starfield is going to be one of the biggest and best games of all time. It is as simple as you might think, but it is because of the fact that it revolves around space. Space exploration, I think, is something that makes for great moments of fun video gaming. Moments that I honestly believe could replicate for an experience that a game like Minecraft and both Destiny games bring. Minecraft is a game that allows you to explore endless amounts of a world, to mine, collect resources, build your own house, farm, you name it. There are so many endless possibilities for you in Minecraft to do things. Destiny is a game that allows you to explore the vastness of space while fighting enemies and also collecting resources from them and the environments of each planet and moon. You can use all that to upgrade your character and what you use with your ship. That is what Starfield to me feels most authentic to when comparing to other video games. Minecraft is one of the longest lasting video games ever. Both Destiny games, while they are not flawless, have brought about a lot of great moments in science fiction gaming. I myself have created a lot of great memories playing those games. They are addicting and they're also a lot of fun. That right there is, I think, what Starfield is going to do in many ways from how those games do it on their own. You are going to have that sense of wonderment exploring space. You are going to have that innate want to travel across these planets and moons to collect these resources and see what each has to offer in terms of alien life. This actually leads into my second point, which revolves around these planets and moons, as I mentioned. Now, there is a quote from Todd Howard himself, the CEO of Bethesda, where he has stated that Starfield is going to feature 1,000 planets for exploration. Whether that includes the moons of these planets is another story, which I would garner there be plenty of those moons to go along with it. Now, if we do the math here and we divide it down, let's hypothetically say that it takes a day to explore 2 planets and their moons. That is roughly enough content for someone to play this game for about a year and a few months, and that doesn't even include everything else in the game that you will have the ability to do. In fairness, this could lean more towards someone who might want to speedrun the game, although for someone like me, I find that taking my time and playing through the game effectively is what makes for a good experience. Speedrunning, I think, can take away from that, and people are free to do what they want when playing. That's just something that I noticed as of recently with some people who like to speedrun video games. They run through the game in one day and then they comment negatively on it because it didn't give them a satisfying enough experience. Just something I noticed, but to each their own. If we get back to my point, this doesn't even include everything that a player will have to do with regards to things like skill points and the challenges and the customization that you will have at every moment. There's going to be a lot to do in the game, of course, as long as it follows through on release and we have the ability to do all of this. This is going to be one of the biggest games ever made simply because of something like this. A game that will give you lasting opportunities for so so long, and that is not to mention what Bethesda could put into the game while in its life cycle. DLC that can make the game last even longer. I've already mentioned it already in that last point, but let's talk about those challenges and skill points and everything that you are going to be able to do in the game from a progression perspective. I would implore most people to go and watch or rewatch the Starfield Direct that came with the Xbox Summer Showcase in June. That is one of the best behind the scenes looks at a video game I think that we have ever seen. So much detail showcased in the span of almost an hour long. One of the main points that they touched upon was the progression systems and the challenges in what you will be able to do with your character, ship, and so on. While the Starfield Direct lays it out for you, I'll give a quote to spell it out in dialogue from GamesRadar.com. Starfield skills lets players shape and level up their character, enhancing and developing attributes and abilities. Physical ability, combat, social science, tech, and other things can all be upgraded and improved as you play, shaping your journey through this world. The way Starfield's system works is that you level up through a combination of gaining XP by doing stuff, using that to unlock things, and then completing challenges to improve what you unlock. There are obviously a lot of skills and abilities for players to unlock and improve, and it's an interesting system that mixes traditional experience-based unlocking with performance-based upgrade. So to basically lay it out in simple terms, it is a natural progression-based system that lets you earn things through playing the game as much as you want. You are not held back by anything money-based, real money I mean anyway. Now, whether or not Bethesda decides to add in real money-based progression where you pay to win is another conversation entirely. I would hope that Bethesda doesn't make that mistake because people do not take lightly to that anymore. So if they stick with the natural system, then we are looking good and everyone is going to be happy. The next point to talk about is who the studio is, which, as I just said, is Bethesda Games, a company known for franchises like Elder Scrolls, where you have a game like Skyrim, which is one of the longest-lasting video games ever made, the Fallout series, which is full of great titles spanning many years, and even something like the modern Doom games from Doom 2016 to Doom Eternal. They are a very well-respected studio that has shown enough proof that they have made great games. Now, in fairness, their last title in Fallout 76 was not very well received. I still feel that even sometimes a great studio can make a mistake and put out a game that is not as good as their past work. Just because Fallout 76 did not meet expectations does not mean that they should become a studio that is not trusted. They are clearly hyping up Starfield to be their biggest game that they've ever created, and while that has yet to be seen, from everything that they have shown us so far, I am very confident that they are putting out a good product. Again, I want to preface this, but it takes a great level of confidence for a studio to be able to show off as much as they did during that Xbox Summer Showcase. Another recent video game that came out where the studio showed off a lot of behind the scenes footage and it ended up turning out really well was the Dead Space remake back at the beginning of 2023. I played that game and it was a lot of fun and almost in some cases maybe even better than the original game. Again, I'm hoping that we do get everything that has been showcased to us, whether it be the 1,000 planets or whether it be all these different challenges and systems of progression that I hope is all going to be there on release. But the point that I'm making here is that on the studio's case, it seems that they are confident enough to show this all off and realize that they have something good on their hands. Whether the actual players find all that on release remains to be seen, but still, my point stands. Bethesda has done really good work in the past, and so we should still be excited enough to hold out that they will deliver on another great game. The next point has to do with the storytelling of Starfield and what the campaign is going to end up being. The game is set in the year 2330, and so humanity has been able to travel across many different systems on areas of space. Your character is going to be implemented into many different locations and factions, and you'll be able to do side missions, exploring different planets, and to search for artifacts and so on. One of the main groups that you are going to be working with is called Constellation, and they are basically a group of explorers who want to search the galaxy and the universe for many different artifacts. So here in this case, with this point, again, you are going to have a lot more to do with what could be added into the amount that has already been mentioned in this video with regards to the challenges and so on and so forth. There is so much more that you can be doing with regards to everything that is already implemented into the game just by coupling in the story with that. How much is involved in this story portion of the game is again yet to be seen, but so far it sounds intriguing. One of the things that I think makes for a good story about science fiction and space is that you are an explorer. You are constantly trying to find new things about the galaxy around you and where you are going to be traveling to. I think that that is what makes for a great science fiction storytelling aspect. The concept is there. Now, whether the story follows through remains to be seen, but again, as I just said, the concept is what I think is most intriguing to a lot of people. The next point is more of a smaller one, but it is regarding the graphics, gameplay, and then the music of this game. That is something that I think comes with the atmosphere. How much is Bethesda relying on attention to detail to really nail down the vibe and atmosphere of this game's world that we are going to be exploring is a really big question. One of my favorite games that I've played recently for the first time is the original BioShock, which in my opinion is atmospherically one of the best video games ever created. The time and setting covered in with that game and its music and the graphical attention to detail is what makes that game such a fascinating playthrough. And in my opinion, music revolving around space is some of the best music out there. Take a movie like Interstellar, for example, which is my favorite film of all time. Hans Zimmer was able to compose such a beautiful, beautiful score that resonates with the setting of that movie. Hopefully we can see something like that here in this game, and so far the trailers and the marketing have given us some good music. Whether that is in the game or not, I would hope it is, but like I said, that adds to the decor of what makes for a good video game experience. A game like BioShock also really nailed the gameplay aesthetic of that world, and here in Starfield, it looks like it could play out for some fun experiences. I'm sure that there will be many different forms of combat that will be given to you through the skills and so on. The more choices that you get, the more opportunities you have to feel more ingrained into the world of this game. So far from what I have seen, it looks like they are going to be giving you a lot of options. Now, my one final very important point that I want to mention in terms of the good factors of what this game could bring to make in terms of a great video game and one of the best ever has to do with YouTube, streaming, and then also social media content. There are, I think, endless possibilities again for some great types of videos and content to be made out of this game. I want to try and make content of my own around this game, but as I said, there are so many things that people can do with this. You can see walkthroughs, breakdown videos, speedrun videos, lore-based videos, and so much more that can also come from streaming and people who would just stream the game endlessly for people to watch in their own experience in a live fashion. Again, this is all predicated on whether or not the game lives up to the hype. If it does, I genuinely think that you are going to see a blow-up. In the past, I've been disappointed with some games that had the possibility of doing so, like a Cyberpunk, for example. If we're talking about a recent one, I thought that that game was going to be one of the biggest games ever, and it completely fumbled the bag, unfortunately. If Starfield does the exact opposite here, I'm telling you, I think we are in for something really good. From my perspective, I hope that I can bring a great number of awesome Starfield videos, considering that there are not very many channels out there at the moment that are making Starfield content, and it is understandable since the game is still far away from its release. We'll just have to wait and see and also hope. One of the best things that I will mention in this video that I feel is important to talk about, because I don't want to make this video seem like I'm just all out for Starfield to say that it will be in fact the greatest video game ever made. I am also honest and going to acknowledge that there are some drawbacks to certain areas of this game. For one, like most Bethesda games, there is not going to be a multiplayer component at the start. This is completely a single-player driven narrative story game. Now, in the past, that clearly has not faltered on any of Bethesda's games like Fallout or even with something like Skyrim and Elder Scrolls. Their games always do very well regardless of that. Now, with Fallout 76, they did try to innovate and they wanted to put in a battle royale and multiplayer mode into the game, but unfortunately that failed pretty fast because no one was really a fan of either version. As weird as it is to say that you would think that adding in a multiplayer component would help it, but it just unfortunately did not help Fallout 76 in any way. For a game like Starfield, I don't know if there can be as much worry for that. I would rather Bethesda make a really well-made single-player game that has everything there on launch for people to play than a multiplayer and single-player based Starfield game that is missing features that it should have and is full of bugs and glitches. You basically get the point of what I'm saying here. Yes, not having multiplayer might turn some people off, but I think it also might benefit more than some others might think. Just look look at another recent game in Elden Ring. That has no multiplayer and yet is one of the best and most sold games in the last several years. Not every game needs to have a multiplayer mode and to be satisfying or popular. Another thing that could be seen as a detractor for the game that honestly, the more I look into it, I kind of understand it a little bit more, is the notion that the game will not be on 60 FPS. 60 FPS for a lot of people is a very important feature because it makes the game look more smooth and run faster. In today's day and age, most people think that 60 FPS is more updated for what we got back in the day with most games, which for the most part were running on 30 FPS. Honestly though, I kind of understand where Bethesda is coming from with this news because the game is massive, as I've mentioned already, and it would probably destroy some people's hardware and make the game really buggy and glitchy because, again, they just wouldn't be able to handle it. That is how big that this game is probably going to be. One of the hopes that I think could come from this is that somebody out there is able to create a mod on the game that allows for people to play through 60 FPS. I don't know anything about how they could be made, but I'm sure a lot of people are hoping that that could be something that happens. Again, I understand where both sides are coming from with this, so I just hope that the game is fun regardless of this detraction. I think we have now come to the end of my video, where I have explained all that I need to have talked about to get my point across to why I feel the way I do about this game. I have a deep passion for gaming and video games and entertainment media that revolve around space and science fiction. I mean, funny enough as it is, if you haven't noticed, my YouTube profile picture is actually a black hole with my name in it. My name, Orion, is based on Orion's belt because, again, it's related to space. That is how much I like all of this stuff. Starfield looks like it's going to be a combination of a lot of great things from what we have seen so far, and that is why here today I am making this video because, again, I feel like I want to make sure that we get the hype going for when we eventually get our hands on this game come the beginning of September. If you are excited like I am, and you also believe that this is going to be potentially one of the biggest and best video games ever made, please comment down below with your thoughts and what you've seen and my commentary, and like this video if you enjoyed and are excited for Starfield. I would also greatly appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel if you are new and are somebody who is looking forward to the game and wants to follow me while I am going to be making some many different kinds of Starfield videos in the coming months. I am really hoping that this game turns out well, so I can't wait to go on the journey with so many other different people out there. I hope that everyone here has a fantastic rest of the day, and I'll be sure to see you all very soon for more Starfield videos. This is Orion, signing out.